Man, can I even call it a love letter at this point? Here, let me just... Yeah, there we go, that's better. Hi everyone! It's been quite a while since my last video, and so some of you might be wondering who I am and why you're even subscribed to this channel in the first place. Well, first of all, my name is Sai, nice to meet you, and second of all, I have no clue. But since I'm currently engaged in a never-ending battle to the death with the unknowable Lovecraftian atrocity that is the writing for the Eternal My Master review, I figure I'd flip the script and do one of my Kickstarter stretch goal thingies. As such, let's talk about dubbing and about Funimation.
Now it's Riley Matthews' job to stop the Beatus bullies and find out who put her father in jail!
The internet was a blessing from the Lord Jesus, but pedophiles and Muslims stole it.
So, in the past, I might have let loose some controversial statements about Funimation, with things like, "They single-handedly ruined SNO," whispered out the side of my mouth in only the darkest of back alleys. Now, in hindsight, and especially after having sat down and done my research, I admit that those claims were hyperbolic on my part, but they were rooted in a very genuine anger towards the company and towards its translation effort of SNO that I want to explore with you guys here today. Now, let it be known right off the bat that I am not a universal detractor of dubs. There are plenty of anime that I will always watch dubbed given the choice, either because I prefer it to the original, or because I think the show just works better in English. And there are plenty of shows where even if I prefer the sub, I still like the dub. Point being, I don't hate all dubs. I just hate SNO's dub.
Oh, balls! I'm starting to like him too!
Can you do me one tiny favor first?
Name it. I'll do anything.
Kill yourself.
The best course of action was to erase all other humans on the planet from existence.
Wait, every other human being on the planet?
Correct.
Can you cancel that? Can you cancel that? Can you cancel that?
Master, please just use caution on the other side.
Okay.
Well, look, I'm being mean. The dub's not that bad, okay? I know there are some people out there who will only watch things with dubs, and you know what? If that was the case for you, and you watched SNO because it had a dub, whereas you wouldn't have otherwise, then I'm glad. In that way, the dub is a net positive for the show. But God, I just hate it so much! To the point where it was legitimately difficult to watch the dub for more than 5 minutes at a time without wanting to cringe myself out of existence. But let's be generous here and throw Funimation a few bones. The "I'm not racist but" of argumentative analysis. Looking at it from as objective a viewpoint as I possibly can, SNO's dub is mediocre. A 5 or 6 out of 10 on the dubbing scale. Shut up. There are some moments that work, that do genuinely carry the weight of the original release, and quite a few moments that don't and fall flat on their face. But aside from one glaring exception that we'll get to later, most of the dub cast is decent enough. But the problem is that the Japanese cast were consistently giving amazing performances, 8s and 9s on my apparent dubbing scale. And I have rewatched SNO in Japanese so many goddamn times at this point that I'm able to hyper-focus in on the comparatively lesser quality of the dub's delivery. There's so many little, tiny things that just drive me up the wall. Small changes in delivery, wording, or tone of a given line that I pick up on and cry, "Heresy!" A good example. In this scene, Ikaros has just gotten her powers and memories back, and is threatening to shoot Nymph with a nuke if she doesn't back down and concede the fight. It's obvious from this scene that Ikaros and Nymph go way back, and she obviously really doesn't want to kill her, but she will if Nymph pushes her to. Sayori Hiyami, Ikaros' Japanese voice actor, really sells how much it pains her to be in this position. You can hear her voice quaver with emotion as she begs Nymph to back down. It's a really powerful moment.
お願い、引いて、ニンフ。お願い。
But you listen to Brittany Karbowski do the same thing in the dub, and it's just...
Please, Nymph. Go home. Leave. I beg you.
It's okay. It's okay, but it's just okay. It's the difference between a 6 out of 10 delivery and a 10 out of 10 delivery. A C- to an A+. That's what I mean when I say I hate the dub. It's fine if you liked it, I'm glad, but whenever I watch it, I am just painfully aware of how much better the original was. Like, Greg Ayers as Tomoki is okay, but he just can't match Surichiro Hoshi's level of energy or the confidence of his delivery.
Ikaros! Ikaros! Shoot me! わかった！今すぐ帰ってもらえ! And move your ass and get this chick out of here! Yes! Yes!
Eric Vale as Sukuta is okay, but he lacks that darker subtext and natural authority that Tatsuhisa Suzuki gave to him, more often than not just making him come across as a standard nerd character. And the same problem with Jamie Marchi's Mikako. She plays her more as the cliché and remains stuck in that, coming up short on the more serious character moments or on the biting sadistic snark.
A 君、まだ家には戻らないの？
知ってるくせに何を言っている。俺には帰るところなどない。
A 君。
It's late. Are you thinking of heading home soon?
Why bother asking? You know what the answer is. I have no home to head back to.
You poor dear.
Again and again, I keep coming back to that metaphor of a C-, with one notable exception though. So, in a surprising twist, I actually like Sahora's character in the dub more than I do in the Japanese. Like, Sahora's voice actor in the sub gives an incredibly basic performance. There's not really anything interesting or special about her.
ともちゃんは頑張って家から脱出してね。じゃ、
待て、ソハラ!
反省した？
But her dub voice actor, Trina Nishimura, actually imbues her with a personality.
So even though I won't be here to witness it, have fun moving around the house.
Bye!
Sohara, wait!
Feeling some regret.
I think the best comparison I can actually make for that is to Asuna's voice actor from SAO Abridged.
I can't wear this. I look like a tool.
Well, at least now you're dressed for the part. Aw, don't be stupid, dumbass. I'd never do that to you.
Trina adds a spicy fuck you snark to Sahora's lines that is completely absent from the original.
If you so much as look at a pair of panties, they'll blow up in your face.
Sure, you can count on me.
I don't buy it.
And actually does a really good job making her both a more interesting character and a better potential love interest for Tomoki. Whereas their original dynamic had Tomoki being that wacky dipshit and Sahora the disapproving eye-rolling nanny, now they're both huge assholes, and I think they just fit together so much better that way. But aside from her, they're all putting in just enough effort to not get fired, and nothing beyond that. With, of course, the notable exception of Kara Edwards as Nymph, who is putting in no effort and really should have been fired. I mean, look, she does the lowly tsundere voice thing fine, it doesn't sound weird coming out of Nymph's body or anything, but every single line that I could find where she tried to be serious is delivered atrociously.
You're barely more than a doll.
You used to be the infamous Uranus queen who terrorized the entire synapse.
For a dream, it sure has a lot of nerve, but I'll hack this thing.
No, do not allow yourself to be led astray. I'm an angeloid.
Who the hell are you? How dare you pretend to be Tomaki?
How dare you pretend to be Tamaki? Fuck you! Was that really the best take you could get out of her?
All right, you Poindexters, let's get this right. 1,
Little Miss Weapon of Death!
2,
You used to be the infamous Uranus queen who terrorized the entire synapse.
3.
You got run! You're in pieces!
Bada bing, bada boom, I'm done. Learn from a professional, kid.
But the end-all, be-all example of the problems with the dub has got to be this conversation in episode 12 between Ikaros and Nymph. Now, I'll play both versions for you in a second, but first here's some context. The episode opens with Nymph staring at her collar, listening to the beep of the bomb that's set to go off soon if she doesn't capture Ikaros and return to the synapse. Meanwhile, Ikaros, at the behest of Tomoki, is trying to figure out how to smile, but seems physically incapable of doing so. Then, in a conversation the two of them are having later, Nymph remarks that it is odd that she can't smile, because smiling is so easy. But Ikaros says, "No, it isn't. After all, I haven't seen you smile, really smile, in a long time." As we flash back to Minos abusing Nymph. Here's the scene.
私たちエンジェロイドは心から笑ったことなんてないかもね。
それに、最近は何かずっと思い悩んでいるみたい。それが何なのかはわからないけれど。
わかった。そんじゃ一緒に考えましょう。
And now, let's watch the dub version.
It's true, yeah. Angeloids are not designed for smiling. Not unless we have humans around who are willing to help us learn. And there's something else. Lately, I've been doing a lot of worrying, more so than normal. But the part that's troubling me the most is I don't know why I'm worrying.
Everything will be okay. We'll just nip this problem in the bud.
Okay, so where do we even begin with this? First of all, I want to start with the biggest problem, the complete lack of flow to this conversation. It is pretty well known that in Japanese productions, all the actors record the scenes together in the same room, so you get that sort of natural flow to the dialogue scenes, even in a lot of otherwise low-quality productions. But in a ton of Funimation's behind-the-scenes videos, you can see that by contrast, they separate all of their actors and have them record their lines individually.
Hey, yo! Ikaros, you think you could knock out the rest of this equation for me?
Oh, yeah, that's the one, for sure.
Awesome.
What's the matter? Is it too hard?
Hey, yo! Ikaros, you think you could knock out the rest of this equation for me?
An equation?
And it really shows, especially with scenes like this, where there are nuanced character dynamics at play. As I said, Nymph has the constant threat of a bomb in her collar, a very literal sword of Damocles hanging above her constantly. So when Ikaros hits the nail on the head by mentioning that she's noticed that Nymph's been worried about something, we see Nymph react to that, and then suddenly try to snap from being depressed into a faux happiness to convince Ikaros that nothing's wrong. It's kind of a difficult thing to explain with words, but in the original, you can tell that Nymph, the character, is deliberately trying to awkwardly shift the tone of the conversation into a positive one, and you can feel her voice actor moving that lever.
わかった。そんじゃ一緒に考えましょう。
But in English, Kara Edwards' delivery smash cuts abruptly into the next tone, with no cues to tell the audience that it was intentional, so it just gives the entire scene an uncanny valley effect.
Everything will be okay. We'll just nip this problem in the bud.
And don't even get me started on the horrible translation going on here. In the original Japanese, Ikaros says, "I feel like something's been bothering you lately, nymph, but I don't know what it is." It, of course, being the bomb in her collar, but in the dub, Ikaros says, quote, "I've been doing a lot of worrying, more so than normal, but the part that's troubling me the most is I don't know why I'm worrying." And what the fuck is that supposed to mean? By omitting that she is worrying about Nymph specifically, the dub makes it sound like Ikaros is just generally anxious for no reason and over nothing in particular, but then Nymph just reacts to that, again for no reason. Like, listen to the words that are coming out of her mouth. Think about them for more than a second. They don't make any sense.
Lately, I've been doing a lot of worrying, more so than normal. But the part that's troubling me the most is I don't know why I'm worrying.
And then there's this bit here, where Nymph says that angeloids don't know how to smile unless there are humans around to show them how, which is, frankly, I have no idea what subspace they pulled that from.
Angeloids are not designed for smiling, not unless we have humans around who are willing to help us learn.
In the original, she just says, maybe it's not possible for angeloids to truly smile, with nothing about humans being able to show them the way, which makes sense, because at this point in the show, Nymph still thinks that humans are inferior to them.
Angeloids are not designed for smiling, not unless we have humans around who are willing to help us learn.
Oh god, I hate it! Fuck you, Funimation! And those are just the changes to that one scene. There is still so much more to discover. For example, did you know that in the dub's world, the harpies are given different names? Yeah, in the original, both of their classifications were Type Gamma, Harpy, because they're the same model of angeloid.
そう、私たちは陽撃用エンジェロイド、タイプガンマ、ハーピー。
But in the dub, one of them is named Gamma and the other is named Harpy.
You got it. We're the Angeloid Interceptors, Type Gamma and Type Harpy.
Which would be fine if that same classification system wasn't used for every single angeloid.
私は愛玩用エンジェロイド、タイプアルファ、イカロス。私は電子専用エンジェロイド、タイプベータニンフ。敵は局地戦闘用エンジェロイド、タイプデルタ、アストレア。
We're the Angeloid Interceptors, Type Gamma and Type Harpy.
Or how about during Chaos's introduction, where you can clearly hear Nymph call her a bitch in English. And yet, Funimation subtitles it like this. Completely sucking all of the tension and drama out of the introductory scene of my favorite character. Forte already ruined her enough, Funimation. We didn't need your help. And of course, the big one, Ikaros.
I am a pet class angeloid. My type is Alpha, Ikaros.
Icarus, 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 Icarus,
Icarus,
Icarus,
Icarus, Icarus,
Icarus,
Icarus,
Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, Icarus,
Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, Icarus,
Icarus,
Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, Icarus.
Okay, so originally I was going to end this segment with that shot from episode 10 after Ikaros sings Fallen Down, where the crowd all chants her name. Because I thought it'd be funny to have a crowd yelling, Ikaros! Ikaros! as the final part of that bit. But then I found out that Funimation was too goddamn lazy to gather the 5 or 6 people needed to imitate a crowd chanting, so they just didn't bother in the dub. So this joke now ends in an anticlimax, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it was Funimation's fault and not mine. Okay? Okay. There has been an ongoing war in the SNL community for almost a decade now about how you pronounce Ikaros' name, ever since the dub, well, dubbed her Ikaros. It's funny though, because this war is easily won, and as always, I am on the right side of history. All you have to do is go check the first chapter of the manga, where even in the untranslated Japanese, she is very clearly introduced as Ikaros on her stat page. Minazuki even spelt it in English for all us pleb gaijins who can't read Japanese. So why then did Funimation decide to change it to Ikaros? Who the fuck knows? Frankly, I am not convinced that they don't have a random number generator making all of their creative decisions. But what's bizarre though, is that they call her Ikaros in the dub, but on Funimation subtitles on the same goddamn disc, they call her Ikaros.
What? What the fuck?
Oh, but sigh, Funimation just fixed the name. Obviously, them calling her Ikaros is just a weird Japanese pronunciation thing, and the correct name of the guy from the story of the man who flew too close to the sun was Icarus. Incorrect. Icarus is the romanization, yes, but if you check the original Greek, it is spelled like this, and pronounced as Ikaros.
Ikaros.
Literally the first sentence on the goddamn Wikipedia page. Oh, but sigh, even if it's technically wrong, Funimation just changed the name so that it would make more sense to the people in English-speaking countries who've only ever heard it pronounced as Icarus. But it doesn't make more sense though. As an English-speaking viewer, not once did I ever question her original name, even before I knew the original Greek bullshit, because in my mind, it was the Greek name Icarus adapted into a girl's name, like changing Alex to Alexis. But now we're expected to call this pink-haired anime girl what I associate as being a man's name, and it just feels wrong. Like, imagine if Funimation licensed Kill la Kill and changed Ryuko's name to Ryan. No! Fuck you! That's weird! So now that debate has hopefully been put to bed forever, and we're already starting to see a sort of narrative through line of the effort put into dubbing the show, or more accurately, the lack thereof, but we haven't even gotten to the wonderful business side of things yet. So, let's start with some history. On May 15th, 2010, Funimation Entertainment made an announcement they had acquired a bundle of several properties for Western release, with series like Rosario Vampire Season 2, Chrome Shelled Regios, Gun X Sword, and Heaven's Lost Property Season 1. So, respectively, Trash, 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 and the greatest anime of all time. And then, on November 1st, 2011, more than a year and a half after they had first licensed it, because I'm pretty sure Funimation's run by those sloths from Zootopia, they released a trailer advertising the first season. And let's not mince words here, it's horrible. And you know, the funny thing is, while it is a terrible trailer for the show, it is, inadvertently, the perfect trailer for this video, the one you're currently watching, part 9 of The Love Letter. It is honestly amazing how quickly and succinctly it sums up every single problem I have with Funimation in just 60 seconds.
That's it, sonny boy! Grab what you love and hold on to it!
Master, why are we here?
Living a man's dream, Ikaros, that's what we're doing. Everything comes down to our libidos. Oh, and food.
Are we sure this isn't a case of the smaller head controlling the larger one?
No, not at all.
60 seconds of fan service. 60 seconds of tits, asses, and panties. 60 seconds of Funimation broadcasting again and again that this is all the show is. Fan service and some wacky comedy. Not even a singular throwaway mention of the larger plot, the character arcs, the dramatic moments, or any of the fight scenes. They even show that one joke I hated from episode 1 in its entirety as the final part of the trailer, complete with added boyoyoing sound effect.
For crying out loud, get up!
You know, I hear that's a good sign.
Now, I will repeat again, the single worst joke in the show is the very last thing that you see in this trailer, what they most want you to remember. But sigh, you might be saying. SNO is a fan service show. It's not like they're making anything up in this trailer. They're only showing clips that are in the anime. If you have a problem with their trailer, that's just a proxy for your problems with the actual show. Incorrect, Mr. Strawman. Yes, SNO is a fan service show, but it is so many other things on top of that, and advertising it like this is selling it incredibly short. For example, you could totally do this with Kill la Kill. Put in some upbeat song, take a few clips and lines out of context, and you could make Kill la Kill look like fan service trash in a trailer.
Are you an exhibitionist?
Oh god, no! I hate being naked! That was super embarrassing!
And yes, Kill la Kill does have fan service scenes, so it's not lying per se, but it is incredibly demeaning to the source material that offers so much more than that. So the question then becomes, well, why did they choose to represent the show like this? To which I would answer, because that's what they want it to be. If you look at Funimation's regular output, the vast majority of their releases fall into one of two distinct categories. Either an already incredibly popular show that's guaranteed to sell, or fan service trash that is guaranteed to sell. If it's not one, it's probably gonna be the other. Now, I don't have any sources backing up what I'm about to say because this sort of information is kept hidden for obvious reasons, so take it with a grain of salt, but I would guess that Funimation is the kind of company that has incredibly thin profit margins, and when you take into account the cost of licensing shows, hiring actors, printing DVDs, and the fact that demand for physical media is shrinking more and more with each passing year, means that to make do, they probably feel pressure to do things this way. And of course, SNO wasn't an already incredibly popular show, but it was absolutely the kind of show where we can throw tits in the trailer to sell more copies. And sell copies they did. Season 1 finally released on December 20th, 2011, with a DVD and, weirdly, a Blu-ray cut. You see, Season 1 was produced in 2009 for standard definition broadcasting, and so the Blu-ray was really only a shitty upscale job, such that you can barely tell the difference. But whatever, Funimation got to raise the price that way, I get how it is. But even after all of that, the Season 1 release overall really wasn't that bad. The special edition got a nice hardcover box, which has torn a bit over the years, but I still like it, even if Funimation, again, went way too hard in pushing the fan service angle for easy sales. But credit where it's due, I do appreciate that the Blu-ray does include all the ED separately in the extras menu. That's a nice touch. And then, after having sat on Season 1 for a year and a half, they, surprisingly, announced Forte's DVD Blu-ray release only a few days after Season 1 went on sale, aiming to get it out a month or so afterwards. And so, like a good little fanboy, I diligently pre-ordered the collector's edition bundle for that as well, and it's here that we hit another bump in the road. So, about 2 weeks after Forte went up for pre-order, Funimation took to the stage to give us the bad news. You see, apparently, there had been a communications mistake, because now Forte was only going to get a DVD release and the promised Blu-rays had been cancelled. Now, why would they do such a thing? Well, you see, while anime Blu-rays might already seem incredibly overpriced here in the States, and they are, it is nothing compared to what it's like in Japan. Over there, it is standard to pay $60 for a Blu-ray that only contains like 3 episodes of the actual show. So in that kind of environment, it's very common for Japanese fans to just import the vastly cheaper American versions. Now, normally, this type of behavior might call for some business reforms, right? Maybe some competitive pricing, or nope! What happens is they'll just delay and delay and delay the American release of the Blu-rays so that people just give in and buy their overpriced trash instead. And that's what happened here. Kadokawa forbid Funimation from publishing the Blu-rays in America so that they couldn't be imported, thus circumventing their shitty business practices. Now, I will admit, Funimation got screwed here. If anyone's to blame, it's Kadokawa. But Funimation could have helped their case if they'd even tried to make it up to people. I mean, you would think that since they were only now selling half the promised product, Funimation might slash the price of the DVD in half to compensate. And of course, they'd be giving everyone who'd already pre-ordered, like myself, a full Nope! They dropped the price from $70 to $65 and just sent out an email saying that if you wanted to cancel your pre-order, you had to do it manually by contacting their customer support. Actually, I tell a lie, they did try and make it up to people, because each of these collector's edition boxes, mind you, included a little cardboard package, which inside had 4 postcards of promo art. That was our apology. 4 postcard-sized pictures, which are apparently on par with getting a Blu-ray of the show. But honestly, I suspect this was done less out of guilt, and more because they'd probably already made the special boxes, and the empty space would look really stupid if it only had the DVD in it. And in addition to the complete lack of empathy on Funimation's part, it is insane to me that they released Season 1 on Blu-ray, but then Forte, which was actually native HD, got shunted down to a DVD-only release. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, it took them 2.5 years after this little debacle to re-release Forte, finally with a Blu-ray version. Literally, they released Clockwork Angeloid's Blu-ray before they got around to re-releasing Forte's. Class act, these guys. But while the larger controversies might end there, their disrespect for the show does not. First of all, I shouldn't even need to mention this, but yes, the trailers for both Forte and Clockwork Angeloid all just show stupid fanservice scenes to try and pass SNL off as being targeted at a bunch of 5-year-olds. And in fact, I am pretty sure the trailer for Clockwork Angeloid contains literally every single fanservice shot in the movie. If you were 13 and going into that movie looking for something to jerk it to, then God, I can't even imagine your disappointment. And of course, they didn't even bother licensing Eternal My Master, and 5 years later, I still can't decide if I'm happy or mad about that. But somehow, none of what I've mentioned so far, the bad acting, all the weird translations, Ikaros, deceptive advertising, and shitty business practices, none of that was the worst part. No, the worst part is something said by Greg Ayres, Tomoki's English voice actor, in the commentary track for episode 4. And for the record, there is a lot of vile shit in the commentary tracks that do a fantastic job revealing the attitudes of the people involved with the project.
So we're going to be doing a commentary on the Snowball episode of The Panty Show.
Exactly. The Snowball episode of The Panty Show.
Yes.
But there is one line that outdoes them all. To me, it really encapsulates Funimation's entire attitude towards the show in a single sentence. So, here it is.
Oh yes, we gotta have our requisite, sad nymph moment.
I was
going
to say, this is the Eeyore Angeloid. Yeah. Woe is me.
The Eeyore Angeloid? More than anything, I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. Both that it was said in the first place, and that no one deemed it prudent to cut out before publishing it on DVD. I mean, if this was just some rando on the internet saying all this, fine, who gives a shit, that happens all the time. But for the voice actor of the main goddamn character to be saying this in an official commentary track.
I was going to say, this is the Eeyore Angeloid. Yeah. The Eeyore Angeloid. The Eeyore Angeloid. The Eeyore Angeloid. Eeyore Angeloid.
Yeah. Like, yes, it was a joke, but many a true thing is said in jest, and you know what this joke says to me? That he doesn't give a shit about Nymph, her character, her arc, her struggles, the entire show, any of it. I don't ever like to single any one person out in these sorts of videos, but Greg Ayres, what the fuck? To take all of Nymph's struggles with her abusive relationship with Minos and the subsequent emotional trials she goes through to move on from it, something that was and is incredibly emotionally affecting to me, to take one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite stories, to take all of that and reduce it to something so insulting, dismissive, and demeaning as, wah, Nymph's such a drama queen, she's the Eeyore angeloid, get over it already. Well, quote, fuck you. Fuck you and fuck off. Fuck off and then keep fucking off. Fuck off until you come up to a gate with a sign saying, you cannot fuck off past here, and then climb over the gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever. But that's what SNO is to these people. A big joke. Not something to be respected or thought about at all. It's just another in a long line of shitty fanservice anime that we can crank out by the bucket load to sell to 13-year-olds for massive profits. The constant through line that I see with Funimation's entire licensing effort is that they just didn't give a shit about the show. It's pretty obvious both from how it was treated, how it was advertised, and how the actors on the commentary talk about it, that no one involved really thought the show was anything other than just another shitty harem rom-com to be pumped out by the bucket load. And as such, there is a part of me that thinks that they threw away the last real chance of SNO ever catching on outside Japan, or ever being recognized by the wider nerd community as anything more than jerk-off material. I mean, sure, it was a small chance to begin with, but when you watch a trailer for the show and it's advertised like this, would you bother watching it? Because I wouldn't, but thank God that wasn't my introduction to the show. No one involved at Funimation respected it, or gave it the time of day, or actually tried. And to me, that makes it worse than the ending of Forte. Like, at least with that, you can tell they were trying to make a good story, and that they were just completely incompetent in every possible way. But Funimation viewing SNO not as art, but as a free meal ticket, drifts into the even worse territory of malicious corporate greed. And if there is one thing that I hate more than shit art, it's art that's being treated like shit. Concluded in part 10.